Welcome to the Mystic Access Podcast, where the magic is in learning.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Mystic Access Podcast. I wanted to do a demonstration on the LG Roboking VR6371LV. This is a robot vacuum with speech. I picked mine up used from Amazon.com. And the reason I did that was because the English voice was already set. Another reason why I purchased it used was because it already came with the 220 to 110 adapter, so that I can just plug it right into the wall and it would be used. There are a couple things that come with this LG, and that is the docking station, which has a remote control holder, comes with a remote control, and it comes with the vacuum itself. Now, the vacuum itself is kind of interesting because the
wheels are not touching the floor.
Is a kind of a touch screen. So in order to use the vacuum to start it and stop it, you kind of have to guess or put labels on the vacuum. On the top of the vacuum, there is an LCD screen. That is the front of the vacuum. On the back of the vacuum, if the vacuum is facing you with the side brushes closest towards you, you find the screen, which is the front of the vacuum. And then on the back of the vacuum, there is a switch that is covered with a rubber cover. That's to keep dust and dirt and everything out of the switch. In order to start charging, you have to have the switch on. And if you dock the vacuum when you first get it, you will get an announcement to tell you to switch it on and tell you where the switch is located. On the top face of the unit is kind of the whole touchscreen. The device is kind of round, and underneath the touchscreen, if you feel, you can run your finger around the touch screen portion. That is an actual lid. So going towards the back end of the lid, you can press on the edge, and that will open up the spot where the dustbin is located. The dustbin actually has a handle that you can flip up and pull the dustbin out, and you hear the little noise that it made when I pulled the dustbin out. If you hold it with the handle up, but when the handle is folded down, it's facing away from you, on the right edge there's a button. You press that button and the lid comes up, and you would dump the dustbin into the garbage can. I just closed it again. Now I put the dustbin back into the vacuum, and you hear the nice little sound that tells us that the dustbin is in the vacuum. I'm going to close the lid, which is the touchscreen portion of the device. On the underside of the vacuum, if you flip it over, you can feel a brush, some wheels, and some side brushes. The side brushes will actually sweep the dirt into the path of the vacuum, and it sucks it up. It does a decent job going across the baseboards. So the side brush will go up against the wall, and it will spin and push the dirt or crumbs into the path of the vacuum, and the vacuum will vacuum it up. One more thing I wanted to mention as far as the vacuum itself. One thing I did not know before I purchased it, which makes sense, is the buttons on the touchscreen and buttons on the remote are in Korean. If somebody is sighted is trying to help you, you may need to find an English manual that can kind of translate what the buttons are. There's 3 buttons, and I say buttons meaning they look like buttons, but again, you're talking about the touchscreen aspect. The one button is the start and stop button, and I'm not sure what the other 2 buttons are, and if you touch the touchscreen, you will get feedback from the device, so you can actually switch cleaning modes and stuff by running your hand along the touchscreen. But I found it easier to use the remote. And the remote actually has physical buttons. The remote is kind of grouped into different sections. The first section has 4 buttons. The next section has a cursor cross with a select button. The third section has a couple of other buttons, 2 are circle and 4 are rectangular. On the first group of buttons, they're all circular. On the top left, from what I've been able to ascertain, is the start button, it's top left. The stop button is the top right, and that will actually go back to the home base. And I'm not quite sure what the lower right button in that first section is because it does not speak. One thing I'm afraid to do is to change the speech accidentally from English to, I think it speaks Korean, and it also speaks Chinese. There's maybe 1 or 2 other languages that it does speak. If you press the button that is underneath the on button or start button, that will select the different modes. So let me do that.
Cell by cell mode. Spiral spot mode. Zigzag mode. Cell by cell mode.
So you have cell by cell mode, which kind of goes, cleans a spot, moves on to the next spot, cleans another spot, moves on to the next spot.
Spiral spot mode.
You have spiral spot mode, which is one of those modes that if you spill something and you know where it is, it'll clean up within that little area.
Zigzag mode.
And zigzag mode kind of just zigzags around the house and does a vacuuming. If you want a thorough cleaning, you would want to use the cell by cell mode. If you want a quick cleaning, you could use the zigzag mode. Now, I'm going to skip for now the cursor cross and select button. I think that's how one can actually control the vacuum. If you wanted to take the vacuum into a certain spot or move it yourself, you could do that by using the directional arrows. It's kind of like it's a circle, like you'd see on a cell phone or you'd see on another kind of like TV remote control, DVD player remote control. Then we're going to go into the third section, and we'll let the remote tell us, or not the remote, because the remote's not doing the talking, but the vacuum tell us what we press. And to do that, I'm at the first button in the third section. It is circular, so I'm going to press that.
Repeat cleaning has been set up.
So we can do repeat cleaning.
Repeat cleaning has been canceled.
And I'm just pressing it.
Repeat cleaning has been set up. Repeat cleaning has been canceled.
Now I'm going to go down to the next one.
HomeBot needs to be charging in order to activate reservation.
So
Dock the HomeBot to the home station.
That's a reservation. You can reserve it daily, things like that. The next button I don't believe speaks, but we'll see what it does.
Setting current time.
You can set the current time.
Current time has been set.
Okay, let me see.
Setting current time. Current time has been set.
Okay, I'm not quite sure how to set the time. On the right side of the third section, we can press the first button, which is circular in shape again.
My space mode. Please specify the area you wish to clean using the remote control and press start button to initiate the cleaning process.
Okay, that's a MySpace mode. That's where do you want this to actually clean. And as you heard, you can use your remote control to tell it where you want to clean. I'm going to cancel that.
My space mode. Please specify the area you wish to clean using the remote control and press Start button to initiate the cleaning process.
Or not. The button underneath that I don't believe speaks. And then the final button is a self-diagnostics mode, and it will tell you to step away from the vacuum at least 3 feet or a meter, and it does some self-diagnostics. It has to be docked with the charger in order to start the self-diagnostics mode. If it has an error, like it gets stuck on a cord or stuck somewhere under a desk chair or table chair, you'll hear a melody play, and it'll tell you what the error is. It'll say something like, "HomeBot cannot continue. Please clean around the area," and start it again. So you'd clean around the area, and then you would hit the start button. If there's something wrong with the brush, or the brush isn't spinning, it'll tell you that. It'll tell you to check the brush. If there's something caught in the wheel, it'll tell you that something's caught in the left or right wheel. When it's in the middle of cleaning, if the battery is low, it'll say battery is low, and then it'll say searching for home station, and then it will go find its home station and dock itself. So let's see what happens, and I'm not going to let you hear a full cleaning cycle, but I just want you to hear how loud or quiet this vacuum actually is. You can actually have a conversation with somebody. You can actually watch TV with the vacuum running. It is very, very quiet. I had a Nito Robotics that I reviewed in one of the previous podcasts, and that one is much louder than this one. So let's see what happens. We are going to select
Cell by cell mode. Spiral spot mode.
I'm going to do spiral spot mode, and then we're going to hit start, and let's see what it does.
Spiral spot mode. Please empty the dustbin after completed.
And I don't know if you can hear that, but that's the vacuum. And it's doing a little spiral spot mode. It's basically spinning around in a circle, doing its program that we set up for it. Going back to the remote for a second, the button underneath the stop button is the turbo mode on or off button. That's one that I didn't think spoke, but it actually does. And it will say,
Turbo mode has been set. Turbo mode has been canceled.
and if you can tell, there was a subtle difference between turbo mode and not turbo mode. So I'm going to let the vacuum continue its spot clean, and I hope you have enjoyed this demonstration of the LG Roboking. Thank you very much, and if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, contact information follows.
The preceding podcast is a presentation of Mystic Access, where the magic is in learning. To contact us, please visit www.mysticaccess.com. Call us 716-543-3323 and press 2 to reach our Mystic Access podcast comment line. Email us at show@mysticaccesspodcast.com and follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/mysticaccess. Would you like to spread the word about our podcasts? Please tell your friends and colleagues to visit us at www.mysticaccesspodcast.com. If you enjoy what you hear on our podcasts, feel free to leave us an iTunes rating and review. We certainly appreciate those. Also, you may feel free to use our podcasts in your own RSS feed. Just be sure that all of our contact information is left intact. Thanks for spreading the word, and thanks for listening. We hope that you have enjoyed this episode.